What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 library, literally 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are Jack's complete lacks of surprise as we talk about David Fincher's Fight Club.
An insomniac office worker and a devil-may-care soap maker form an underground fight club that evolves into much more. We're on week number 2 of Fincher season. Dude, it's happening. We did the game last week. Now we're doing Fight Club. Daddy Fincher is owning our lives. Are you excited?
I can't wait, man. I've been looking forward to this. I loved, talking the game. I'm really excited to get into Fight Club.
Yeah, I stand by my take that I said about the game as well. I think on the Patreon, I was like wavering on if it was a 5-star movie. It is officially in my 5-star movie list on Letterboxd.
I love it.
The game is a 5-star film.
Number 50.
Number 50. Directed by Daddy Fincher, of course. Everybody, I feel like, question mark, exclamation mark, like knows about Fight Club or has seen Fight Club or understands.
Who couldn't? I can't imagine who would about it at this point.
Right. Like understands that the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So that's exciting. This is going to be a fun movie to talk about. Before we talk about it really fast, we have a hot sauce punishment. Last week on the Patreon, we mentioned how we have a new rule to live by, which is very fitting that it's happening on the Fight Club episode about rules. So we got a new patron last week, Christian Renteria, I believe. Thank you. So we're gonna take a hot sauce challenge and then try to talk about Fight Club and see how many times Ben hiccups.
Yes, it's going to be bad. All right,
we have not done hot sauce in a long time.
It's been a minute.
Let's be real. It's been a minute. So for anybody new, Christian, if you haven't seen this is a hot sauce challenge. We have a whole thing. Spin the wheel, Ben, because the last 2 times we have done hot sauce, number 10, both times. I'm going to be fucking mad if we get it again.
Me too. Go 10 for 10, 3 times in a row.
Yeah, Christian, if we get a 9, if we get a 9 or a 10, you should feel terrible. Okay,
right.
3. We'll take 3. I don't mind that at all.
That's
okay.
I can do a 3.
Yeah, I can do a 3. Okay, I gotta find 3 out of here. Where we're going. So 3 is cayenne. It's a 607 on the Scoville. I don't know what that means. That could be terrible. That could be not terrible. I have no idea. So we should talk about Fight Club a little bit as we prepare our hot sauce here. And as we get everything ready. I literally just watched Fight Club like 15 minutes before we sat down to record this.
Nice.
Fight Club fucking rips, dude. It's so good.
It's so good. It is amazing. It had been a while since I had seen it as well. I do remember it being my Brad Pitt sexual awakening. It's like, oh my God.
My God. Yes.
I'm a very straight man, but I don't know who couldn't be attracted to Tyler Durden because that is an attractive looking dude. This is a movie that really, really pays off on rewatches. I think, there are some where when you know the twist, it maybe just doesn't land as well, but I would argue that this movie works better.
Where do you fall on that with Shutter Island? Does that movie play better on a rewatch for you, not since you know the twist, or have you not seen it recently?
Do you really want to know my feelings about this before we get into the Scorsese drafts?
Just trying to draw you out a little bit here and there.
That's totally fair. I will say this. I don't think it works as well as it does in Fight Club.
I would agree with you.
But I don't know. This is...
Oh, I poured way too much hot sauce on my spoon. Yikes.
Let's see what you got.
Are you poured up? Are you ready? Because we're 5 minutes into this, and Christian's probably like dying for us to take our hot sauce.
I think I did too much as well. No, I think I just did way too much.
Well, there's only a 3. So in theory, we should be okay.
Here's what my dumbass did, is I brought a coffee to wash it down. So if this is bad, I don't know what's going to happen over here. But
you're toast. You're toast, brother.
All right. Cheers, Christian. This is for you.
Cheers.
Thanks for subscribing.
Christian, fuck you. Thanks for subbing. I appreciate it.
Oh.
It's got a pretty vinegary there. It's got a good kick. A little sweet when you first have it. I gotta be honest. I liked it at first, but now I don't know. People listening, if you've ever taken a spoonful of hot sauce and then tried to have a complete conversation immediately afterwards, It is not advised.
No.
So yeah, Fight Club fucking rules. I agree. I think the twist works a lot better, or works very well when you already know what it is. I think it still plays very, very well.
Yeah.
I would totally abandon my family to be even remotely as cool as Brad Pitt is in this movie. It's unreal. Costume design, off the charts.
Yeah. Like, I think if someone came to me and said, hey, we're going to take off the last 10 years of your life, but you get to look like Brad Pitt for your entire life. And Brad Pitt, I'm like, okay, great.
Easy.
I don't want those last 10 years. Who gives a shit? Like,
no. Yeah. I don't
give me this
care.
Tyler Durden look. Like, he's super hot in this. He's very funny. He gives a great performance. Ed Norton, also a wonderful performance in this. And the person that really stuck out to me this time that I didn't get enough credit to beforehand was Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
She is so good. She does a wonderful job. And so much of that relationship is what I think plays well on the rewatch, you know, where she's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, once you know actually what's happening, you know, and he's like, oh, you and him. He's like, what do you mean? You know, so it plays really, really well. She did a wonderful job. I was stoked to rewatch this one.
Totally. It's been way too long since I've seen it. So I'm glad to rewatch it. I think I pretty much like remembered like the flow and the layout. I got to give credit to Fincher. The pace of this movie is just a steady crescendo until the very end. Like, I just don't feel like it drops off whatsoever. I feel like it totally holds from moment number one. Edward Norton as this, as the narrator is incredibly smart. So the dialogue and the script of this movie is airtight. Like, it is so hyper aware of everything it's done before.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to that final 15 minutes and it starts being as meta as it is, I think it works really, really well. So yeah, I really like Fight Club. Let's do our true cinema moments. We each get 3.
Well, I'll do one last thing before we get into that.
Yeah.
I think this is the very rare occurrence where the movie is better than the book.
I have not read the book.
The book's really, really good, but the only reason I feel like I can say that is like the author, Chuck Palahniuk, even said himself that Fincher captured the book almost like as good as possible. So when the author of the book is like, no, the movie's like as good, if not better, it's such a rare occurrence because every other time you can get so much further into stuff with the book, but with the visuals and stuff, Fincher really fucking nailed this movie. I just wanted to say that. I think that's like such a rare thing to happen, and I think it's completely true.
Would you fight in Fight Club?
I mean, I have to, right? You know, if I show up,
like
it's like your first time, you gotta
You're a
fight.
Newbie.
I will say I want to take on like Jared Leto, though. I don't want to take on Brad Pitt, like or even Robert Paulson, like Meatloaf.
Fair assessment.
Meatloaf, he's not quick or anything, but if he gets a hold of you, you're done.
Dude,
as we saw, you know,
the bitch tits, they'll get you.
Yeah, they'll get you for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I feel like I'd put up my best effort for sure, but I got to be against someone that I could kind of hold my own with. Okay, I will start with my first true cinema moment, and I tried to pick some kind of lesser moments, I guess, and not be like so cliched, because Fight Club, you could argue, is overrated potentially because it's been so core to the culture for so long since Fincher has made it and like really established himself as someone that can make movies like this and make them incredibly well. So number one for me is when we get the little snippet into Tyler Durden's job as a projectionist, and the fact that he's snipping or like clipping single frames of porn into family films, and he looks at the camera and he's like, they just saw a huge cock. That tied with the final thing that we see is a single frame of a huge cock in the movie. Incredibly genius. David Fincher is fucking twisted, and he's so smart at when he does that. Yeah,
it's so good. One of my favorite visuals from the movie is when they're explaining what the burn mark is. And Tyler just kind of like points up and goes, boop, just like points to it right when it happens. Like,
so
I love that. It's such a cool sequence. My first moment is actually the moment when I saw this for the first time that I knew I was going to love this movie. And it's when they're on the plane together.
Yep.
And Tyler says to the narrator, he's like, now a question of etiquette. Do I give you the ass or the crotch? I'm just like, it was so funny. Like, oh my God, that's hilarious to me. I still think it's super funny and just played perfectly as someone who has traveled quite a bit, from working at the airlines. That is always the tricky situation, trying to get out of that window seat to go to the bathroom. It's like, how do you pass people? So
Yeah.
that's will always just be one of my favorite lines. So I had to throw that one out there for my first A1.
What do you do?
Or
What do
true
you go ass or crotch?
I go ass,
Yeah, it's
like
fair.
I know what my
Yeah.
good side is, so I'm going to show it to people.
You want to give people the best?
Yeah, exactly.
Best show. Yeah, I can agree with that. I got you. Number 2 for me, another Durden, kind of like little thing here is when Tyler Durden is practicing karate. When Edward Norton as the narrator is on the phone with Helena Bonham Carter's character.
Yeah.
And we get a really kind of good depth here, and we just hear Brad Pitt making karate sounds in the background.
Yeah.
He's jacked as shit. He's cool as shit, and he's practicing karate. And it's just like, this guy is legit, and this is really funny. And like, again, shout out Fincher for just like doing cool shit and just like making him do nunchucks in the background of this scene.
And I don't remember if he's wearing it during this scene or not, but just want to shout out that robe that he rocks at home, that pink fluffy robe the whole time.
Elite.
Just does not give a shit, and I love it. I think it's so good. My second one, I think, are all of ours going to be Tyler? I mean, he's like the most intriguing character of this movie, right? Like, it's hard not to pick him.
Hard not to pick.
But my second one is, as the Fight Club is happening, these two men come down the stairs, and we meet Lou, who is the owner.
Fuck you, man.
Place.
This is my third one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I can let you have that one. I can.
No.
Pick
I want
one.
you. I want you to have it. It's that good.
I mean, it really is. Just their back and forth, their banter, just like, who are you? Like, I'm Lou. Who are you? Like, oh, we worked out this deal with the other guy. It's like, well, that guy's not here, and this is my place, so you guys need to get the fuck out of here. And then, it gets a little contentious, and he punches Tyler, and Tyler falls down. He's like, did you hear what I said? And just the response of like, no, I didn't quite catch that, Lou. It's just like, oh shit, okay. And Lou just keeps punching him, and he's like, okay, I got it. Oh shit, I lost it. I lost it. I'm sorry. Like, all of that happening to the point that Lou's like losing his mind as to why this guy won't give up. And then the attack from Tyler, like not even a punching attack, just like a drag him to the ground and start shaking his face, like, and putting this blood like all over this guy.
You don't know where I've been.
Yeah, like it is so good. It's so powerful. Like, everyone around him is just kind of freaking out. Like, oh my God, what's happening? And as they're trying to pull Tyler off, and he's holding, it's like, say we can use it. Say we can use the spot. I'm obviously, that sounds like that was going to be one of your picks too, but that was just one of my favorite scenes from this.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that you could argue that that's like really peak Fight Club and peak Tyler Durden, especially of like kind of getting in that zone of like living for what Fight Club provides. Obviously, Fight Club, a really nuanced, pretty perfect script on toxic masculinity and corporatization of America and our lives, and everything that kind of like surrounds that. So I think like tonally, it's really smart to start with our narrator, understanding his addiction to like crying and being men with Meatloaf, and then evolve from there. I think it works really, really well. Third one, since I got to pick something else, I will pick. I'll fall into the trap, but I'm going to do it anyway, is the reveal, is the hotel room reveal of the narrator is Tyler, and Tyler is the narrator. Norton plays that off incredibly well and incredibly believable. This is when Brad Pitt probably looks his coolest, when he's like lounging in the chair and he's just smoking, and he's like having Norton like finish his words. He's like, you like, you're getting it. You're starting to understand. And it's really interesting to me because this happens 40 minutes or 35 minutes before the movie ends. Like, this is not the final 10 minutes. Like, we don't get the reveal and then a big punchy explosion at the end. Like, we get the reveal and then we get a whole final act of the narrator coming to grips with that and trying to save Marla and trying to save himself and all of these things. So I think that's part of what works so well about this. I was thinking when I was watching this movie, I know Fincher's coming out with a killer this year, so I'm not specifically asking about Fincher, but I'm curious if a movie like this, I know it's adapted from a book, but like would get the budget or would get the green light to like even really be made now, because it might be considered like more niche or a little bit too kind of crude or out there, or like it just doesn't fit in with this IP culture that we've kind of talked about on the podcast as of late. I wonder if something like this could do as well, like now, if it was made now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious if it. I think, yeah, my question of it is, does it get made without as many notes from the studio?
Yeah,
You know,
right.
where it's like maybe he gets the same budget, but maybe they're like, oh no, we can't have him like spitting blood on that guy. Like that's,
Right.
whatever. Or try to force a PG-13 version of this just to get a bigger audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we can't say I haven't been fucked like that since grade school.
yeah, that line is not going to make it, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I actually kind of forgot this came after the game, like just a couple years after.
So the
7 and
game's
95.
Yeah, 97,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
that's insane.
yeah. So
Fincher just on a roll.
yeah, really, he was.
Always
He was
has
great.
been, to be honest. I did want to give a shout out to the score and the soundtrack. This like really techno pop soundtrack.
Yeah,
Incredible kind of elixir into the world of Tyler Durden. That mixed with that really green heavy color contrast that we get, that filter that's really kind of put over everything in the final 30 minutes, really gives that dystopian feel and that just absolute shithole vibe of like everything we're doing is terrible, and goes along again obviously with Project Mayhem and what their plan is and everything like that. So I love that they chose something that was like that like neo techno pop that really fit in with this movie. I wanted to ask you if, and I know we're only in week 2 of like 6 with Fincher, so if you've got to stew on this question, that's okay.
yeah.
Real quick, a hot sauce check-in. No hiccups, I noticed.
Yeah, I'm curious what the level is. 10, obviously, we know will cause it.
We got to
3,
find the cutoff for the hiccups.
Yeah. I'm anxious to find out what that is.
It's fair. We do this pod long enough. I'm sure we'll get there. If you could only show one Fincher movie to somebody, is it Fight Club?
Ooh. Am I trying to get across like what is the most Fincher to this person? Like,
yeah, I think it's someone that's never seen a Fincher movie, that doesn't really know a lot about Fincher, and you're trying to say, this is David Fincher. This is what he can do. Watch this movie.
yeah, I think maybe it's the piece that encapsulates everything he can do. Like, there's a little bit of everything he does in this movie. So it might be this, like it's hard to say that Social Network isn't just like the best thing he's done, but if you're trying to like
That's
pick
tough,
things
though.
of like,
It's a Sorkin script. That's the thing.
yeah, exactly.
The
That's what I
Social
was gonna
Network
say.
works the way it does because it's a Sorkin script, and we'll talk about this obviously in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
know if that's the Fincher, the Fincher-iest Fincher.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's why I think there is a little bit of everything that he does in here. Pieces of 7, pieces of the game, Gone Girl. Like, you can find all of it inside Fight Club. So this might be the most, like, if you like this, you're probably gonna like everything he does, because there's a little bit of this in everything he does.
So we're not covering 7 on this pod, which I think is very interesting and does like open the door for another Fincher discussion of like, what is he maybe most known for? What's his most core? Like Brad Pitt's obviously in 7 as well. That's a whole different conversation. I guess we'll get to another time Fincher makes another movie.
Yeah, we'll get around to it eventually. My last go with I'm gonna give one of them, give an honorable mention right after, because I want to. The one that I want to pick is when he goes to the convenience store and the narrator's like, "What are we doing here?" It's like, "Oh, a sacrifice." He was
A
like,
blood
a blood
sacrifice?
sacrifice. Yeah, with the gun. It's like, what? What are you talking about? And then we meet Raymond, and he pulls Raymond out back. He's like, "What do you want to do? Like, like you're gonna all this stuff, just like threatening to kill him." It's like, "What did you want to be?" He's like, I wanted to go learn animal stuff. Like, what does that mean? What do you want to do? I want to be a veterinarian. He's like, "I'm going to come back in the next 6 weeks. And if you aren't on your way to becoming a veterinarian, I'm going to kill you."
Mm-hmm.
And then now go run out of here. And then like with
Run,
no
Forrest,
intent,
run. Shouts at him.
yeah. And then like no real intent to follow up or anything, just like to scare the life into this person. I thought that was like, it's a really cool scene.
I like what he says in that scene where he says, Raymond's breakfast tomorrow is going to be the most delicious meal of his life. It's going to taste better than anything you and I have ever tasted.
Yeah, that's such a good line. I love it. And then the last one was just, I feel like it's a really good example of when you watch it for the first time, it can be one thing, but then you watch it again, it means something else. And it is when he's fighting himself in his boss's office. And like right as he punches himself, I think we get a freeze frame and he says something along the lines of like, this reminds me of my first fight with Tyler.
Yeah.
When you're watching it, you can be like, oh yeah, because like, you know, it's just like beating himself, like, you know, that he's fighting and all that. And he hasn't fought in a long time, whatever, just all that kind of stuff. But then
very
you rewatch
literal
it, like
translation, yeah.
Yeah. And then you watch it again, it's like, oh, that's because he's literally fighting himself, like he thinks he is when he's fighting Tyler. So that's such a good line. Just so many of those things throughout this movie.
I do really, each time I watch it, I find myself more enjoying the kind of anti-corporate establishment of like narrative of the film.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the Starbucks thing and like, oh, we were going to take down a piece of corporate art and then run into like a fast food chain or a coffee chain or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's done really smartly and it's not too overt and it's weaved in and out over the course of 2 hours and 19 minutes and really works well for the movie as a whole. Would this fit into the A24 catalog? Maybe.
I think
I don't know. Yeah?
I think it could. I think it's an interesting enough story. I don't know what the budget was on it, but I do think, you know, this type of story and, you know, this like mind game, this like other person that's actually yourself. I can see that totally falling into the A24 library.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wonder, and on the podcast last week, we will have talked about kind of the franchise and the IP nature of what A24 needs to do in the future. I wonder if this is something. Like, I wonder if they put their claws into like an established dormant IP that people are just like, oh, I would love to have 7 more of those and like just expand a world. I think what comes to mind is The Nice Guys. Obviously, you have to get Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling back, but like maybe that's what A24 does. I think that could be really interesting. But you know, launching off point of Fight Club is like Fight Club 2 would be fucking sick. We talk about all these reboots and all these nostalgia plays. Dude, if we get Edward Norton, Brad Pitt back for Fight Club 2, I'm in.
Let's do it.
I'm so in. Yeah, I think it would fit in the A24 catalog. I think you can do it. That's kind of psyche play for sure. Next week on the Patreon, we've got week 3 of Fincher season. We're talking about Zodiac, a movie that I love, and I haven't watched in a long time, so I'm going to have a lot of thoughts.
Honestly, this whole series has been just full of like, oh, I'm excited to rewatch that, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I haven't seen the game forever. Same with Fight Club, Zodiac. Like the thing I've seen most recently that we're covering is Gone Girl, which I am also excited to talk about. So this whole series is going to be super fun. What do you guys think about Fight Club? Did we break the first and second rule today as we talked about it? Let us know. We are on Twitter and Instagram. We're at 24 minutes of A24. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube where you can see us talk about, you know, all the A24 movies. And thank you so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it. If you want to see us do more hot sauce, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone to subscribe to us and support. Thanks everyone for your support. I'm Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. We are all the singing and dancing crap of the world.